Welcome students. Today we are going to learn a new text, a prose text from the book prescribed for BCom Part 1 Sem 1 Compulsory English by RTM Nagpur University Nagpur. As you know, the name of the book is Epiphanies, published by Orient Black Swan, and it contains lots of prose texts and poems as well as wonderful material on improving your writing skills. So one of the best articles and text I have found in this prose book is a life article by an entrepreneur and a strategist. The title of the text is Why a Startup Needs to Find Its Customers First, and it is written by Pranav Jain, who is basically a digital business sales and innovative strategist. As you get to know from the title of the profession, I'm reading again, he is a digital business sales and innovation strategist. So what is the job of a strategist is to frame strategies for particular reasons. These reasons are often supplied by the companies and by the organizations or firms, manufacturing units. Say even for a social media website, there is an urgent need of identifying the strategies that how to popularize and how to launch, etc. We move ahead. This author Pranav Jain has a key eye on business transformation. As we all know, today everything is going very tech based kind of affair, and many of the things are becoming in on available on a digital platform. So being digital or going digital is the new mantra for improving your existing industries, firms, companies, etc. In the earlier days, we would find that it was all about a paper-based work, and most often the time taken by a paper for traveling from one destination to another was huge, and there were also enough chances that the paper would be lost sometimes en route or from one point or to the next point of the destination. In digital cases, we find that the target or the addressee and the sender are decided, and there is a nil possibility to get miscommunication, or we can find that if you have tried to send a particular document to a particular email address, it is surely delivered without any technical glitch. So we find that going digital is the best way to improve or to launch or to progress your existing affairs in case of a firm, manufacturing units, companies, organizations, etc. In schools and colleges, in manufacturing units, in case of government departments, everywhere it is going to be all a digital way. Even the libraries are digital now. If we Google for one particular word, you get hundreds of websites which gives you results in minimum a point 0.003 seconds, etc. So in case if we have to go through books, you won't find this many results. I mean, it would take years to come to a particular set of results. But with case of digital information, it is possible, and it's always on your fingertips. Now your mobile phones are there, which give you every kind of information, and it is readily available. You don't have to spend a cost to get it, of course, unless there are some paid subscriptions. Okay. His core area, Pranav Jain's core area, lies in companies' digital transformation with the help of rapid experimentation technique. Now, we do not know exactly what is rapid experimentation technique, but as the terms suggest, we find that it should be something like, giving one experiment after another in order to focus or to reach on a very particular and we can say a perfect goal of what you have always wanted in case of marketing, selling, etc. And there are let us have a general talk on it before we begin to the talks. uh, we find that there are two different kind of strategies which are generally employed by the corporate affairs or anyone who holds a firm or a company. Either it is a test and launch, or there is another strategy, launch and test. So this is something about the basic knowledge I have about these commercial operations. Test and launch is what? Where you test a product and then launch it for the public. Now the testing area could be very very minimum, and when you get the perfect results within that minimum area, you launch it for many others or for a larger population. Sometimes what happens, there is the second strategy where often people also employ that when they are very much sure about their product, they when they are ready with the product, they launch it without giving any testing time for it. Now in both the cases, there is partial success and partial failure. It also depends upon what is the target customer group and of course the quality of the product. Now beyond that, what the author has to say to us is you need to find the customer base before you have launched any startup. It does mean that before we have launched anything, need of the customer, I mean identification of the need of the customer is very very important. Now how we are going to know whether a particular customer wants a particular design or a particular quality of material or product? It's of course it would be taken on a kind of survey, but whether the survey is properly propagated and whether the survey is conducted on the targeted population to whom we are going to address when we launch our product. So in both the cases, we find that it is up to the general attitude of the owner of the firm or the manufacturing unit or the company who actually has a firm belief on either of the strategies. What are those two strategies? Launch and test and launch. And in both cases, as I said, there are partial success routes and partial failures. So it depends on lot many other factors, not only on these two strategies, but there are so many features. So for example, a particular product gets very popular in case of metro cities, but in cities it never gets that much of popularity. In rural areas it is never popular. In exactly opposite manner, we find that some products are very popular in rural areas, but they fail to get equal amount of customers in cities or metro cities. So anything can happen. The author actually wants us to suggest a basic practice, a kind of fundamental before we go up for any startup. So let us go what a startup is. Okay, let us try to know what a startup is. Pranav Jain, he is basically a columnist, and to his column, he has maintained very beautiful articles. A few titles I am reading to you. Customer is kind and data is queen. Today, the one who has data is really a king, because on the basis of data information only, we find that lots and lots of businesses are targeting their customers and they are earning a lot. They have become highly successful. It's on the basis of data. Earlier, there used to be no data, or if it was at all, it was a very, very small data where a particular locality would be surveyed, and on the basis of that much minimum data, a product would be launched. But today, we find that there are various means of collecting information. We get lots of lots of notifications regarding a product. If we buy something on Amazon, it immediately asks us to rate the quality or how was the experience on Amazon. In case of Flipkart also, many other commercial websites are there. And if you have a mail address, throughout a day you get at least half a dozen mails to whom you are not directly connected. But when you go for subscribing an email service, you enter up your likes and dislikes, your date of birth, your education, most often the city you live in, the country, and your interests. This all data is processed and analyzed to further to decide further course of action by the companies. You never know where your data resides. You are most often in a particular impression that my data is safe in this particular website where I have an email based on. But this data is always used because this mail service, for any mail provider, who gives you access, who gives you data, who gives you storage, who gives you lots of information free of cost, is always in need of this data which is provided by you. And knowingly or unknowingly, we most often try to click on a particular website, and that website asks us to click certain survey questions and it is submitted. Sometimes there are fraud websites and mails also, they are called as phishing mails. Okay, never do that, never click on it. Okay, that asks for false information. Now we have another area. Okay, one more title of the article: three lessons every auto policy maker must learn from China. Okay, there are a lot many things to learn from China. And one more title is there: why India battles to balance environment conservation with rapidly growing mobility. Mobility has a meaning towards automobile industry. So we find that every next day hundreds of vehicles are bought, they come on the road, the roads do not get widened every next day. It is the number of automobile vehicles that are added to the existing narrow roads, and the emission that comes from every automobile vehicle is adding up to the pollution, causing a lot of damage to the environment globally. It is not only in India, but there is a global loss. And recently, since last 10, 15, or 20 years, we have been discussing the terms of global warming, etc. Okay, now there is a famous proverb, you might have learned it in your schools also, that necessity is the mother of invention. Why all these things around us, maybe technograde or non-technograde, have come up? Because at one or the other point of time they were felt as necessary. Now, is mobile a necessity? That is a big handled and widely discussed question. Is a computer necessary? See, most often people would say yes, because without mobile phones and computers, life is almost blank. But at many cases, you will find that there are people, those who are doing their businesses without mobile phones, without connectivity, without computers. Of course, their reach would always be smaller than any firm who has these digital platforms, mobile phones, computers, internet connectivity, and global scaling on the stock exchange, etc., etc. But if you wish to convey that it is the extreme necessity of life, then it is a completely false statement, because it never happens. Now, I am also reminded of one poem which was written by Robert Frost, an American poet. It's a very famous poem. Woods are lovely, dark and deep. And the stanza goes like, woods are lovely, dark and deep, and I have promises to keep. But before I sleep. The poet here talks about the promises which he has to fulfill by the time life still exists on the earth. Does mean before he dies. So he has many commitments and promises in his mind that he wants to fulfill before he dies. Along the parallel lines of this poem, he wrote another poem. The title of the poem is The Road Not Taken. Robert Frost is popular in America throughout world as a non-conventional poet. Now, what is a non-conventional poet? A poet who had decided earlier that not to write on the conventional subjects. Now, what were the conventional subjects then in the 20th century? Topics which were expressly given to nature, God, romance, human relationship, etc., etc. Festivities of life. We find that Robert Frost chose to write on the subjects which had little philosophy of life into it, and at the same time inspiring to the readers. In the poem The Road Not Taken, Robert Frost says that I felt myself blessed when I found that I had taken a route which was never traveled by anybody else earlier. He mentions in the poem that the roads often taken by other people are easier to travel, but the roads which are never taken by anybody else yet are difficult to travel, but it is the road which is untraveled gives you the inspiration of life, fantasy of life, and success of life also. Because if you follow the route pattern of the world, you would be one amongst many. If you wish to be particular among many, then you will have to take a road which is never traveled by, which is never taken by anybody else. That is what Robert Frost wants to convey to the readers. Now let us get to the uh, a few definitions of startup, as this is not a new topic, but lesser we go to find out ever, what does this mean. We have internet connectivity in our mobile phones, but I partially believe that a few of you would ever try to know what does it mean. Okay, so in that case, let us go to the proper definitions of startups. Okay, because the text is based on startups. Okay, the first definition: a startup is a young company founded by one or more entrepreneurs to develop a unique product or service and bring it to market. Now there are two, three words which need attraction for the reason because startups are often done by young entrepreneurs. Now what is it? To develop a unique product or service and bring it to the market. Now you need a lot of courage also. There are people who prefer not to go for anything new because they find that there is a risk. Now, in case of startup takers, they should be called as risk takers in the present market because they muster a lot of courage to launch their product on the available information which they collect from few sources. They design a product, they identify a need, they also try to identify a particular set of customers and then launch it single handedly without any backup. And these startups are never from an existing billionaire company or a millionaire organization. Yes, it is true. By its nature, the typical startup tends to be a shoestring operation with initial funding from the founders or their friends and families. How does a company roll out? A startup rolls out. Fundings taken from the friends and families. If we take into consideration the finest example of IT industry, Infosys, you would find that the founder Murthy had to mortgage and sell his wife's ornaments in order to launch the company. Yes, it was a big sacrifice by Sudha. And you just imagine the level of courage and commitment, also confidence that by selling or mortgaging one's own priceless possessions, metals, gold, silver, etc., a person tried to take a route which was never taken by anybody else before. And Infosys could build a big, beautiful success story for the globe. You need to be courageous, you need to be confident, you need to have a commitment in your mind that yes, this startup would rule the world. And there are several examples where startups have been ruling this world more than the existing companies. These startups, once they become successful, are chosen by the existing big budget firms to merge with them or to collaborate with them or to associate with them. Now, this is the impact of a successful startup. Second definition: a startup is a company in the first stage of its operations, often being financed by its entrepreneurial founders during the initial starting period. Entrepreneurs, they try to collect funds in order to launch a product or in order to have a startup because looking up to the age of the startup founder, nobody wants to take risk. But yet, the startup founder tries to collect funds, creates lots of positive energy among the fundraisers, and then tries to launch it. Puts in lots of efforts, puts in lot of commitment and level of confidence to reach to maximum customers and sell the product. For this, he or she, whosoever the startup organizer or the founder, has to burn candles at both ends. Their mind is restless, but they are always inspired or energetic because they wish to achieve success within minimum short period, and that is what startups do. If you google certain organizations, famous startups, you will get a list of startups who have been a success, a grand success within a very short of time, isn't this? And then we have those stories of Microsoft and Facebook, etc., etc., WhatsApp. We find that these were the experimental platforms earlier before they were launched, and once people go habitual to using these digital platforms where exchange of information goes easier, it is immediately adopted, and without even thinking that whether a particular day would come and this digital platform would be no more, they try to engage into it, they try to they also invest money into it. So this is the final impact of any startup. I have collected some information from Google, and there are 10 commandments for understanding startup. So, what is a startup? Because you all are going to be, some or the other kind of entrepreneurs in your future life, and this is the right time to know what is particularly, the most required and essential information on startups. Okay, the first commandment: these are emerging and multidisciplinary companies that seek disruptive formulas for the resolution of any eventuality. Take an example of the vaccine for COVID. We are passing through the pandemic, and it is noted throughout world that the last 6 months were the were the first set of such a months where throughout world rapid discovery and invention is being done on a particular vaccine with a minimum short period guaranteed. This is December 2020, and we are about to get the vaccines within a short period. Vaccines are ready. Earlier, when vaccines were to be developed, it would take at least 5 years or 4 years. But today we find that the world has combined hands together to find out one particular solution for the global pandemic. And it is for this reason scientists and analysts and researchers and pharma companies and medical medicine suppliers, everybody, the common public even, they are also engaged in providing data on the symptoms and post-COVID symptoms, etc., to the government or sometimes to organization, those who are collecting data for developing a vaccine. This combination of efforts has made the vaccine available to the world within shorter minimum period. The second commandment is there is a wide variety of professional profiles that enrich the corporate structure. No structure, be it corporate or non-corporate, is always full or complete. It is always in need of something that adds to the ornamental features and that also helps in enhancing the business. There is a struggle between evolution and disappearance. What disappears? Like we have the versions of Windows, or the versions of what we have, that CPUs in our computers. Earlier it was P2, that means Pentium 2, then P3, Pentium 3, then P4, and now we have all different versions. They all are progressive kinds of mode in case of operation of Windows. Earlier there used to be only one, that was Windows. Now there is Linux and many other operations. Isn't this? There used to be only one language, that was CC or C++. Now there are at least a dozen languages which develop digital platforms and websites, etc. So It's a wide open world where startups have lots and lots of avenues to test and to launch and to prosper at the same time. And the third one is the methodology is based on trial and error, which allows them to find innovative solutions. Yes, it never happens that you launch a product and it is all bang success. It never happens. There are some errors which needs to be rectified at times, and a new product keeps on coming every next month or every next year. In case of mobile phones, earlier it was just a little screen and there used to be lots of buttons. Now it is all screen and there are no buttons. Physical buttons I'm talking about. Now there are some touch pads, okay, and you have everything on your fingertips. That is the evolution. Earlier there were errors, now they are all rectified, the product has changed. Also, the facilities into it. Now I'm not going to read all the 10 commandments, but these are the basic commandments which are required for any startup. Now we go to the text of the this why a startup needs to find its customers first. Okay, I'm reading one. Every traveler starting a journey must decide what road to take. Of course, that's a priority and there is nothing new. But what road have you taken? That is more important. We will always lead a road, that is very sure and for natural. But have you ever paused for a moment that what road should I take? And that gives basically an angle towards success. The author says the road well traveled seems like the obvious choice. We have just referred those famous lines from Robert Frost's poem. The same is true in search of startup success. Following a path of common wisdom, one taken by scores of startups before, seems like the right way. Yet for most startups, the wide road often leads straight to disaster. This is quoted by Steve Blank. Now, who is Steve Blank? I have some information on it. Steve Blank is a Silicon Valley entrepreneur in California. Blank is recognized for developing the customer development method that launched the lean startup movement, a methodology which recognized that startups are not smaller versions of larger companies but require their own set of processes and tools to be successful. He has a wide definition. His Lean Launchpad class, taught as the National Science Foundation Innovation Core or I-Core, has become the standard for commercialization for all federal research. The world is never complete. At one or the other moment or one or the other day, something new is going to be added. Blank writes and teaches about customer development and the lean startup method. He is an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at Stanford University. So this is all about Steve Blank. What does he say? He says that for most startups, the wide road often leads straight to disaster. What does it mean? It does mean that if any startup founder has decided to take the previous route taken by many other startups because he fears to take the risk of a new road, it is definite that he will end up in disaster. Now, why? He is trying to copy the example of others. He fails to recognize whether the product he is going to launch and what others have launched already is yet similar. Yes, of course not. Similar products are not launched, and no startup founder takes the risk of launching similar products. It's of course with some kind of qualitative addition, we can launch similar version of the existing product, but not the same always. Blank suggests that if you decide to take the previous route taken by many other startups, looking up to them that they have become successful by taking such a particular method, this is disastrous because your success cannot be guaranteed. Pranav Jain further says, and the road we are talking about is the way a company progresses. Since the 20th century, a number of entrepreneurs and researchers have created methods and models that describe the process of how new products or innovations get adopted in a population. A very important term, adoption. So for example, beauty products, there are dozens of brands available in India, and not all the brands are equally popular in all population. If you take the set of a single city, say for example Nagpur, you will find that every class who has a different level of economy prefers to buy a different brand of beauty products. What does it mean? It does mean that the needs are different. The attitude of the buyer is different. The attitude of the customer is different. The socio-economic life they have is also different. We cannot say that a particular product would be popular in a city of, for example, say 40 lakhs population. It never happens. You should not have such kind of measures before you launch your product. Knowing customers is very, very important. And there are models already prescribed by many researchers. They are available freely. What a startup founder tries to find out, which model should he or she take. He tries hands on one or two and finds that yes, this is the perfect model. But what about the product and the changing needs, the changing time, the changing customers? If you fail to notice the change, your product would never survive. And this is the rule of the time. Try to guess the change, and you will perfectly be guessing the version of your product also. And that's that is just a kind of first steps toward a guaranteed success. By linking the company's progress with these models, founders can correlate their growth or learning extensively with these methodologies. Learning is possible, and you can always correlate that a particular model has served lots of success to a particular company, and because my company's profile is alike or likewise or similar to that particular company, even I should be assured of success. That may happen, but the results would be simply partial and not complete. But as we advance to the state of the art stages, the ecosystem calls for appropriate changes in these techniques. A particular business model was very successful in 2010. People tried to imitate that, but by the time it was 2015, the model became obsolete, and now nobody tries to uh, follow it. Nobody imitates. In 2015, there was a new model, but by the time we entered into 2019, just before Corona pandemic, all business models collapsed, and people began to think on an innovative business model that would sustain even if there is a global pandemic. And you will find that now there are new models, because reaching to customers, selling products, delivering them, that was all challenging during all these months, the months of pandemic. And therefore, these global innovative strategists had to develop new strategies, and they were basically the change makers. Now there are different models of business. You should keep an intact eye on what are the changes in the ecosystem of the population. The socio-economic level has also been disturbed, or either it changes even if there is no pandemic. There are global recessions. Sometimes there is a hike in the rates of petrol, diesel. So goods naturally become expensive. By the time you have launched your product, you should take into consideration the future course of costs, prices, customers, their age, their likes, dislikes, the rising population, etc. These all measures would highly benefit you. In the present era, startups don't fail because they lack a product. Very important line. What does the author say? In the present era, startups don't fail because they lack a product. They fail because they lack customers. And this is on, this is a perfect line on which the text is based. What is the title? The title is Why a Startup Needs to Find Its Customers First. This is where it has its realization. Now there will be a common whispering about certain products that there are no customers. Now, why there are no customers when the product is essential, when the product is good, it has good quality too, there are no customers. Why? Because their choices might have been changed, their socio-economic conditions might have been changed, or because there could have been a new product which has more quality and quantity perhaps in the existing prices. A customer always has a shaky attitude. He tries to go onto a new product, jumps onto a new product wherever he finds that he could save a penny. And that is what we all should be very, very cautious about. But despite these clear prerequisites are the features, okay, numerous startups founders fall prey to their own assumptions. A company would never run on assumptions, it runs on data, clear information, accurate graphics, and calculations which are beyond accuracy, beyond any research. If you try to assume that a particular set of population, a city, a particular geography, or etc., there are so many features onto it. If you assume and launch your product, you will continue to assume your success and you will never realize it. That is what he wants to say. Rather than letting the customer tell them what she wants, founders tend to provide her with what she might want. Yes, of course. What is the change then? You have, you just find a set of questions for a survey and you ask a customer what does he or she want, and they would tick a particular question and you may get a data. But have you ever tried to ask an additional question what you might want? Then the answer would be completely different. And this is the real data where you can design and sell your product. Try to know the necessity. Try to know the measures beyond necessity, because there are customers who have got their basics or fundamental needs fulfilled by a product, and now they are looking beyond that. So when you get to know this, unless you have a relationship with customers about their feedback, about their choices and their changing attitude, you would never get to know how to design or develop a new product. And that is where the crucial period of any startup or company exists. This is an example of the product development approach where people tend to skip the problem solution fit and jump directly to the product market fit. What does the author say? Let us try to engage our attention towards the problem solution fit. Let us not get engaged into the product market fit. Most often you will find that there are people who go for a continuing, a survey from the market. They often say that, where have you been? I was conducting a survey in the market. That's a wrong way to go. You should have a survey on the problems and possible solutions, and then only a perfect product can be designed which would never give you any failure. So instead of reaching to the market, reach to the customers, try to know their needs if they are facing any problem, and then work on the solution and serve it back to the customers. Now that will give you a guaranteed success. It is but obvious that founders need to identify a real problem. That is a prior necessity. Develop a product that solves the problem and have customers verifying by buying from them. It is not about delivery of the goods. It is also about knowing how faster or how longer these products are sold in the market. It is then only you can adjust the burden of production in your manufacturing unit. Isn't it? It's true. You cannot continue producing a particular item or a product, say for soaps or cars or even paints or computer monitors. Anything, clothes, finished products, anything, unless you get to know how faster these products are being sold in the market. If the selling is slower, you need to be cautious because people might not have liked it. If it is faster, You need not to improve only on the production, also on the quality, because it gives sustenance of that faster selling. Do not get overjoyed because your product is being sold, within a very short period of time. This would exhaust very soon, because there are always one or many competitors from the same product. Once they jump into the market and try to override you with lesser cost and prices guaranteed to the customers would take no moment to forget your product. And therefore you need to have strategies all the time when you are either a founder or an owner of a unit. But how does one do that? The conventional method of running a business focuses on a product centric approach where the product is given the first and foremost priority. Now, what is a product centric approach? When a product comes from a manufacturing unit to the customers, it is the product only which is considered previous and later. And the customer is most often forgotten, who is actually the purchaser, the buyer of the product. And unless the product is bought, your company would not survive. For the startup founders, Pranav Jain wants to convey a clear message that before you have entered into the ecosystem of the market, try to know what does the customer want and then work on it. Okay. It is just like saying build it and the customers will come. That never happens. Successful roadmap in the present ecosystem should be governed by many other features where customer is the king. Isn't it? Let us go to the next paragraph. A product development approach might work when a new product is introduced into an existing market with known parameters and dynamics. It is true, but in some cases. But it is a disaster when it comes to bringing a new product to a new market or bringing a new product to a new section of the existing market. See, market is a big area and your product is not a necessity for all. It always has a particular section of customers. If you are bringing into, a particular product which has, say for example, a higher price band of 2000 to 5000. Now, who is the buyer? The purchaser would be the one who has at least a band of middle class family, and of course they would not buy it after every 6 months or a year. Just imagine that it is given to a big market and the product fails because there are no buyers. You need a section of buyers and that needs to be identified first. What you should do? So what should be done to ensure that a real pain point is addressed? He doesn't say pinpoint, he says that pain point. Where is the worry? Where is the problem? Where is the difficulty? In the previous paragraph, we could say that he is actually trying, the author is trying to make us understand instead of knowing the product market approach, go for the problem solution approach. And that will give you wide variety of customers. The answer to that is as articulated by Steve Blank, get out of the building. Like we are most often suggested, get out of the shell, comfort shell actually. If you wish to gain something, you need to experience pain also. If there is no pain, there will be no pain, no gain. It's a popular saying. And of course, if you have decided to stay within the comfort shell, you would never get to know the outer world. If you have always stayed away from the pains, then there will be no gains. That is what the simple message is. All you have inside the buildings are opinions. Earlier he talked about the assumptions. Okay, now he's talking about the opinions. The facts are with your customers. What you have in our mind is some kind of assumption, some kind of opinion. It is the customer who knows the reality and the fact of a product. So reach to the customer before you have started anything. It is hence a necessity to verify your assumptions with qualitative customer interactions. Qualitative customer interactions is where real data is captured, where real data is obtained from the purchaser, from the buyer, from the customer. Only after you gather sufficient data on your understanding of the customer, do you return home to give this feedback to your product guy. It's of course how a product should be designed. It should not be designed, knowing the plain necessity of the world. Rather, it should be designed on the feedback given by the customer. Feedback is perhaps the most essential tool to develop your product, because if it is based on feedback, it will have no time to be adopted by the customer, because the customer knew that before, and that it was the feedback I had submitted, and the product is exactly based on the feedback. Okay, that's a happy moment for the customer. Not only does this help a company identify real needs, but it also contains them at a low cash burn rate till the company validates the problem solution fit and moves towards finding early adopters. Now, who is the adopter? It is the customer. If you could minimize ever the time between the data collected from the customers and design of your product and its launching, you will have a perfect and guaranteed success within very short of time. Of course, a perfect analysis and researching on the data collected from the customers is a prior requirement. He further says, once a company understands the real problem, the next stages get unlocked for discovery. Once we have understood the needs of the customers and also understood the problem solution fit, then there will be, you know, all next stages that would guarantee you success. After this basic understanding about the customer, the best way to move further is not by building a product bang on, but to understand if the proposed product will achieve the liking of early adopter. You need to continuously be in touch with the customers to know their reactions and feedback. It's proper to know that you have developed your product on the feedback given by the customer, and it is also liked. But how longer this liking of the customer would sustain? Soon the customer would like some another changes into the product, and unless you are connected with the customer, it is very difficult to bring a change in the product also. So your qualitative approach towards the customer is very essential. If the product gets required hype, the company would aim to build a minimum viable product to verify their presumption on a small batch of early evangelists who would help them understand and design future learning milestones and the route to the mainstream customer. Now, the first experiment collection of data from the customers would be a very little sample. Your product is launched and it is popular, it is adopted by the customer, but this is just a smaller set of customers. Now you need a vast avenue to launch your product, and this vast avenue will be provided to you only again on the feedback given by the earlier smaller set of customers. It's on their feedback. It is the feedback tool that develops the courage. It is the feedback tool that develops a data on popularity of a product. It is the feedback tool that gives you enough attention towards sustaining quality of the product. And that goes on silent. Yes, the number of purchasers and buyers goes on increasing once you have consistently maintained the product, the quality of the product. And it is possible only when you get to know a periodical review, a periodical feedback system should always be there. If you keep listening to the right customers carefully, he mentions it. How to listen to the customer? Listen carefully. You will end up executing a successful product strategy. This is very important. You should never disregard or disrespect the customer of your product, because customer is the one who is going to launch you either to the heights of the market or to the basis of the market. If you, so hence your first set of customer interaction isn't to learn whether customers love your product. It is to learn whether your assumptions about the problems customers have are correct. Very important line written by Pranav Jain. What does he say? It is about knowing the problems customers have. Once you get to know the problems, you will work on the solution, and the product would be just engaged in further quality measures, and that would additionally give you the next step of success. It will sustain in the market. To summarize the process, what it says, uh, to summarize the process outlined as build, measure, learn feedback loop by Eric Ries in his book The Lean Startup. Companies targeting to enter a new market or a resegmented market should focus on understanding the problem, defining a solution, validating qualitatively, and verifying quantitatively. So, when we talk about the necessities or the prerequisites of a startup, the first answer should be knowing the customers. And as given by Pranav Jain, we should always take into consideration, try to understand the problem in its fullness, then develop a solution also to its fullness, and then design a product and then launch. He further says, towards conclusion, this approach will help entrepreneurs explore the right synergy between product development and customer development during their initial as well as mid years of problem solution phase as well as product market phase. Now the final launchpad is from problem solution phase to the product market phase. This is where the crucial steps are involved. I have little information on Reese. Reese is an American entrepreneur and blogger who was basically a failure in the year 2003. He had launched a company, There.com, and it was a complete failure. He developed some strategies, spent enough time to know the market, to know the customers, to know the problems, and design new solutions. And finally, in 2015, Race began organizing the long term stock exchange, popularly known as LTSE, which is building a new US stock exchange that aims to align the interests of companies and long term investors and improve the public company experience. See, in 2003, he launched the company and it was a complete failure. In the year 2015, Rice had proposed the idea of LTSE in his book, The Lean Startup. We have already mentioned it. On November 30, 2018, LTSE filed an application to the Securities and Exchange Commission for registration as a national security exchange. And the good news is, on May 10, 2019, the Securities and Exchange Commission approved the long term stock exchange as a national securities exchange. A failure in 2003 is now a single hand, a single mind who owns a new national stock exchange facility. There are several and multitudes of these such stories where startups have been initially a failure, and after a particular period of time, when enough researching and analyzing is done, when enough customers are met and data is validated and verified, these startups have really become great success, and now such startups have become an example or a perfect story for others to imitate. This article by Pranav Jain is freely available on Google. If you type Pranav Jain and why does a startup needs to know the customers first, you will get complete text over it. A simple analysis of the text is provided to you. If you find little time, go for the original text. It is just a two-page article which was earlier published in the entrepreneurship.com by Pranav Jain. And this has motivated hundreds of minds to look back into the launching of a startup and designing a product. It happens many a times that people are always guided by the previous ways and routes of success. But let us promise ourselves that I will take a new route. I am ready to take the risk and rule the market, and passionately rule the market as you wish. This was an analysis of the first prose lesson from your book prescribed by Nagpur University. We will meet in another new session with a new prose lesson. Thank you very much for watching.